Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Spry English. I'm Emmy, and today we are going to take a deeper look at our episode, talking about shopping. In this deep dive explanation, we will explore the important vocabulary, useful phrases, and everyday English expressions from the episode. But first, let's remember the story. In the main episode, Kevin goes shopping and learns how to talk about things he needs, ask questions, choose products, and communicate with a cashier. Shopping is something we do in real life, so learning these phrases will help you feel more confident when you speak English. And today, I'm not alone. I'm joined by our friends Lucy and Mark. Lucy and Mark will help us explain the conversations, learn new expressions, and understand why native speakers use these phrases. So get ready to dive deeper into English. Don't forget to subscribe to Spry English. Click like if you enjoy our lessons, and leave a comment below. Tell us, what do you like buying when you go shopping? Now, let's start our deep dive explanation.
If you want to build a house, you follow a perfectly engineered blueprint, right?
Right, yeah. You lay the foundation, you put up the walls.
Exactly. And the progression makes complete logical sense. But if you look closely at how we are actually taught the foundational building blocks of a new language, that perfectly engineered blueprint starts looking a lot more like a surrealist painting.
Oh, absolutely. It's a very strange landscape.
Yeah, forget grammar drills for a second. Today, we are going shopping. As a lifelong learner, you are probably always absorbing new information, but have you ever stopped to think about how we are taught these basics?
We just accept these early language lessons because, it's how we all learned. But when you put the actual mechanics of these beginner stories under a microscope,
It gets weird.
it really does. They rely on this highly artificial environment that is simply masquerading as ordinary daily life.
Which is exactly what we are dissecting for this deep dive. We are exploring a single, surprisingly fascinating source today. It's a transcript from an educational YouTube channel called Spry English.
Yeah, it's quite the story.
It really is. Our mission for this deep dive is to unpack a short, seemingly mundane story about a Saturday shopping trip. We're going to see exactly how real-life English is constructed step by step for language learners. And to do that, we are following a very specific cast of characters.
A very memorable cast.
Yes. We have Emmy, we have Kevin, we have Sunny the dog, and we have Lily the kitten.
Can't forget Lily.
By the time we finish this trip to the mall, we're going to uncover the eccentric, highly calculated, and honestly sometimes baffling mechanics of this educational narrative.
It's an ideal case study, really, because on the surface, it reads like a simple story about running errands. But underneath, it is this highly calibrated machine.
A vocabulary delivery machine.
Exactly. It's designed to deliver vocabulary and syntax directly into a learner's brain. Every single detail, from the pet's behavior to the specific items they debate buying, is serving a very, very precise pedagogical purpose.
Okay, let's unpack this. We start right at the starting line, in scene 1. So it's a Saturday morning, Sunny the dog is lying on the floor, and Lily the kitten is playing with a ribbon.
Establishing that classic, cozy weekend vibe.
Right. Then Emmy looks at Kevin and says, "Kevin, we need to go shopping." And right here, they just explicitly establish their mission parameters. Kevin announces he needs a new sweater and some groceries.
And Emmy needs new sneakers.
Yeah, Emmy announces she needs new sneakers. And then, because Sunny the dog suddenly jumps up, they decide they also need to buy pet food and a toy.
The first thing to notice here is the absolute lack of subtext. I mean, the characters are stating exactly what they lack and exactly what they intend to acquire right out of the gate.
It feels exactly like watching the setup of a video game quest.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. You know when you walk up to an NPC, a non-player character, and they just explicitly announce their inventory needs, like, I need 5 apples and a new sword. It functions as a broadcast to the player, or in this case, to you, the listener. It tells you exactly what vocabulary domains are about to be unlocked. We are explicitly prepping for the clothing store level, the supermarket level, and the pet shop level.
And that video game structure is actually a crucial tool for managing cognitive load.
cognitive load.
Yeah, think about what is happening in the brain of a language learner. If you are learning a brand new language, your working memory is already operating at maximum capacity, just trying to parse the basic sounds.
Just separating the words from each other.
Exactly. The phonemes, the rudimentary grammar, it often just sounds like a wall of noise. So if the story being told is too complex, or if it relies on, mystery and unpredictable turns,
The brain just short circuits.
the learner's brain gets completely overwhelmed. The affective filter, which is the linguistic term for a learner's anxiety level, shoots up and learning just shuts down entirely.
But wait, isn't a story supposed to have a little mystery? If they just tell you everything that's going to happen up front, doesn't that make it boring?
Well, for a native speaker, sure. But for a beginner, predictability is the goal. By declaring the goals up front, the authors are building a cognitive scaffold.
Like prepping the foundation.
Yes, they are explicitly telling the learner's brain to prepare for clothing words and food words. It dramatically lowers the anxiety of listening because the destination is already known.
The brain can stop worrying about the plot and just dedicate all its processing power to the vocabulary.
Precisely.
So it's like setting the menu before you sit down at the restaurant. They have their stated goals. Kevin needs a sweater, Emmy needs sneakers, pets need food, and a toy. So they head out to the shopping center.
And this is where it gets interesting.
Oh, this brings up a massive conflict between narrative logic and language acquisition. Because let's look at what happens when this story demands one thing, but the lesson demands another. So they walk into the clothing store.
Right. There are sweaters, jackets, dresses everywhere.
And Emmy spots a blue sweater. She takes it to the fitting room, asks Kevin how it looks. Sonny the dog barks happily in approval, and Emmy decides to buy the sweater. Now, wait a second.
I know what you're going to say.
I read this transcript, and the continuity is completely broken here. Didn't Kevin explicitly state in the very first scene that he needed a sweater and Emmy needed sneakers?
He did, yeah.
Why is Emmy suddenly trying on and buying a blue sweater? We just completely abandoned the primary quest. Doesn't this cognitive dissonance actively hurt learning?
You would think so.
Like if I'm listening to this, I'm distracted wondering what happened to Kevin's sweater. Isn't that breaking the very cognitive scaffold you just praised them for building?
If this were a novel, the audience would be throwing the book across the room. But what's fascinating here is that this illustrates the absolute ruthless priority of pedagogical materials. Narrative continuity is almost always secondary to the immediate language goal.
You're saying they intentionally threw the plot out the window just for the sake of a few vocabulary words.
They did. The objective of this specific scene was not to resolve the setup from scene 1. The objective was to introduce a very targeted set of phrases.
Let me guess. Try it on and fitting room.
Exactly. Those are highly functional, high-frequency phrases for someone trying to navigate an English-speaking country. And to get to those phrases organically, someone in the scene needs to try on clothes.
And I guess it doesn't matter who.
It doesn't actually matter to the language acquisition process whether it's Emmy or Kevin doing it. The plot inconsistency is entirely irrelevant to the brain's ability to encode the phrase fitting room.
That is a tough pill to swallow for anyone who appreciates a good story. I mean, you naturally latch on to the narrative continuity.
Right, we're trained to.
But the lesson is almost demanding that you detach from the plot entirely and just focus on the mechanics of the transaction. It's like the story is just a very thin wrapper around a vocabulary list.
The story is a delivery mechanism, not the main event. In language teaching, this is called creating a situational context. The brain needs a situation to anchor the new words to. The isolated phrase fitting room means nothing in a vacuum. But fitting room placed in the context of Emmy asking Kevin how she looks, complete with the dog barking in approval.
And that creates a visual.
It creates a multisensory anchor. The fact that she was supposed to be buying sneakers is just, well, collateral damage in the quest to teach the phrase.
Forget your shoes, Emmy. We need to teach these people how to use a fitting room.
Exactly.
Okay, so having successfully navigated the clothing store and having completely abandoned their original shoe quest, the characters move on. And this is where we see how micro-decisions are used to force the brain to engage. We hit the pet shop and the supermarket.
The environmental shifts here are very deliberate. They are moving from domain to domain specifically to activate different lexical sets. First clothes, then pets, then groceries.
Right. So they are in the pet shop, and Sonny the dog is just losing his mind with excitement. He sees balls, ropes, chew toys. And Sonny actually runs to a shelf and picks up a red ball all by himself, which is a vivid little detail.
Very vivid.
Then they pivot to getting cat food for Lily. And instead of just grabbing food, they have this little debate. Should they get chicken flavor or fish flavor?
They talk it over.
Yeah, they talk it over and they settle on fish flavor. Then they move to the supermarket. They grab a shopping cart. They're throwing in bread, milk, fruit, vegetables. Specifically, Kevin puts apples in the cart.
Right.
They ask each other if they need juice. They decide, no, they don't need juice, and they hit the checkout. The cashier smiles, says hello, the total is exactly $30. Kevin pays, gets a receipt, and then Sonny the dog walks out proudly carrying his red ball.
It's quite the image.
It's like Sonny is a toddler successfully negotiating a toy out of their parents. He's just carrying it out himself.
It's a very active choice.
But I want to zero in on that debate over the cat food and the conversation about the juice. Why not just write, they bought cat food and apples? Why spend the limited word count having them debate chicken versus fish or mentioning juice just to actively reject buying it?
It really comes down to the neurology of attention and memory.
How so?
Well, by introducing a choice, a sort of micro-conflict, the authors are creating a highly effective hook for the listener's memory. When a learner just hears a passive list of items, bread, milk, cat food.
The brain tends to tune out.
Right, it's just passive reception. But the moment there is a decision to be made, even a tiny one, like chicken versus fish, the listener's brain is forced to lean in. It creates a moment of active processing.
Because you have to evaluate the two options along with the characters.
Exactly. You are holding chicken and fish in your working memory simultaneously. And the act of making that choice, of the character settling on fish, makes the words stick. The conflict, however small, generates an attention spike.
Wow.
And attention is the absolute prerequisite for episodic memory. The same mechanism is at play with the juice. By mentioning juice only to decide against it, it forces the learner to process the word juice conceptually without tying it to a physical action in the scene.
Well, that makes sense.
It's an exercise in auditory discrimination and comprehension.
So because you remember the debate, you remember the words used in the debate. That explains why Sonny, picking out his own red ball, is highlighted so specifically. It's an active, slightly unusual choice that creates a stronger mental image than just, they bought a toy.
Yes.
And then we get to the checkout line, which brings up another fascinating aspect of this educational world. The checkout scene is a frictionless utopia.
A perfect world.
The cashier smiles. Hello, did you find everything you need? The total is a perfectly round $30. There are no long lines, no broken card readers, no fumbling with exact change. Just a clean, frictionless exchange of goods for exactly $30, culminating in a printed receipt.
It is the platonic ideal of a retail transaction. And again, this is about managing cognitive load. If you introduce a grumpy cashier or a declined credit card, you introduce complex social vocabulary that the beginner learner just isn't ready for yet.
Keep it simple.
The goal here is mastering the basics: total, pay, and receipt.
But there's a limit to how far simple item selection and frictionless transactions can take a learner. Eventually, you have to teach social friction. You have to teach them how to ask for help.
Right.
And that's exactly what the authors do when they move the characters out of the supermarket and into the final location, the university shop.
The university shop scene represents a significant step up in complexity. We are moving from simple pointing and paying to actual social negotiation and problem solving.
So they arrive at the university shop. Sonny the dog is incredibly still hanging out with them in a retail store. Lily the kitten is peeping out of a bag. And they run into their friend Bob.
Good morning, Bob. How are you?
Exactly. They navigate the pleasantry dance.
Yeah.
Then Kevin finally gets back to his original quest from scene 1. He looks for a university jumper for the new semester. But they introduce a problem. The jumpers are too large and too expensive.
Some friction.
Right. Up until now, they've just grabbed what they wanted off the shelf. Now, Emmy suggests they need to ask the sales assistant for help. So they practice the, excuse me, please, do you have some script?
That's very useful.
They are directed to the second aisle for sale items. Kevin finds one that fits well, it's not too baggy, and it costs £10.50. Bob kindly offers his loyalty card for a 10% discount, and they decide to hit the bookshop next door.
A successful trip.
But we need to pause here, because this is where the world building truly breaks down. Just one scene ago, at the supermarket, they paid for their groceries, and the total was exactly $30, American dollars.
Yep.
And now 10 minutes later, at the university shop, Kevin is buying a jumper for £10.50, British pounds. Did they teleport across the Atlantic between the supermarket and the university?
It certainly seems like it.
And furthermore, Kevin wanted a sweater in scene 1, which is American English, but now he's buying a jumper, which is British English.
It's a jarring shift if you are treating this like a continuous realistic narrative. But what's fascinating here is, well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, through the lens of ESL, English as a Second Language pedagogy, it is entirely intentional. Educational materials often deliberately blend different English-speaking cultures.
But why risk confusing the learner? If I'm learning Spanish, I wouldn't want the textbook constantly swapping between dialects in the exact same conversation.
That's fair, but English occupies a unique space as a global lingua franca. The vast majority of people learning English today aren't learning it to exclusively speak to someone in London or someone in New York.
Okay, true.
They might be a business person in Tokyo using English to negotiate a contract with a supplier in Berlin, or, a student from Brazil attending an international conference in Dubai. They need maximum global utility. So these educational materials intentionally mash up currencies like dollars and pounds and vocabulary like sweater and jumper.
Oh, I see. It's like training in a flight simulator that throws you from a blizzard in New York to a dust storm in London in the exact same flight.
Exactly.
It's not geographically realistic, but it pressure tests all your instruments. It ensures you know how to react no matter what environment you suddenly find yourself in.
That's a highly accurate way to look at it. The lesson ensures the learner is equipped for both contexts. It sacrifices narrative logic and geographic realism, just like it sacrificed Emmy's shoes earlier, to optimize for vocabulary density and real-world application.
Okay, so our characters have successfully navigated their multi-currency, plot hole-filled, frictionless shopping trip. And this is where the source material does something pretty stark. The narrative just abruptly stops.
It hits a wall.
Yeah, we transition directly into the deconstruction phase. The narrator comes back, and we go straight into the didactic teaching portion to lock in all this knowledge.
The shift from narrative to explicit instruction is the moment the scaffolding is fully revealed to the listener.
It literally announces vocabulary time. The narrator simply starts listing the raw words: store, shopping cart, shelf, price, checkout, receipt, toy, pet food.
Just stripping it down.
Then we get useful phrases where the listener is prompted to listen and repeat out loud. Things like, I'm looking for a sweater. How much is this? Can I try this on? I'll take it.
Standard drilling.
And then the grand finale, mini quiz time. The narrator asks 3 questions to check understanding. Question 1, what did Emmy buy? A sweater, a jacket, or shoes? Question 2, what did Sunny choose? And question 3, what food did Lily choose?
The moment of truth.
So what does this all mean? I have to admit, I laughed out loud when I read the quiz, because question 1 explicitly asks what Emmy bought, and the correct answer is a sweater. The quiz itself validates the plot hole.
It really does.
It's actively testing you on the fact that she abandoned her quest for sneakers and took over Kevin's sweater quest. The authors knew exactly what they were doing the entire time.
They absolutely did. They are closing the pedagogical loop. Let's break down the mechanics of this loop because it is universally utilized for a reason. Step 1. You introduce the concepts in a narrative. You give the learner the situational context we discussed earlier.
Right.
The story provides the multisensory anchor. Step 2. You isolate the raw vocabulary. You strip away the characters in the plot and just give them the building blocks. Store, cart, receipt.
Okay, that makes sense.
Step 3. You drill the practical phrases. You give them the functional chunks of language they can actually use in a transaction, like, how much is this? And finally, step 4. You test the comprehension with a quiz to solidify the learning.
It's like taking a machine apart to show someone how it works. First, you show them the whole car driving down the street. Then you open the hood and show them the individual spark plugs. Then you show them how the engine turns over. And finally, you put them in the driver's seat and give them a driving test.
Precisely. And that final driving test, the quiz at the end, isn't really an assessment of intelligence. It's a reinforcement mechanism. By forcing the learner to actively recall that Emmy bought the sweater or that the kitten chose fish flavor, the brain is forced to retrieve the information.
And that's good for memory.
Very good. In cognitive science, the act of retrieving information is one of the most powerful ways to strengthen a memory trace. It's called active recall. So, yes, it validates the plot hole, but it ensures that the vocabulary word sweater is now firmly, permanently lodged in the learner's long-term memory.
It really changes how you look at these simple little stories. You realize how much unseen engineering goes into every single sentence. It's not just a cute, disposable story about a dog picking out a red ball. It's a highly structured, reverse-engineered vehicle for delivering data.
The authors almost certainly started with a blank page and a list of target vocabulary. Sweater, fitting room, receipt, discount. And they meticulously built a world around those words specifically to make them digestible.
So to summarize our deep dive today, we followed Emmy, Kevin, Sunny, and Lily on a Saturday shopping trip. We watched them seamlessly transition from hunting for American sneakers to buying British jumpers.
Quite the journey.
We watched them navigate a perfect retail utopia where cashiers always smile, lines don't exist, and friends always happen to hand over their 10% loyalty discounts right when you need them. And we saw how every single detail, from the micro-conflict of fish-flavored cat food to the deliberate abandonment of plot continuity, was designed with one singular goal in mind: teaching you real-life English.
It highlights something fundamental about human psychology, I think. We are profoundly hardwired for narrative.
For you, the listener, this is exactly why human brains love stories so much. We absorb raw data, like vocabulary lists, grammar rules, and currency terms, so much better when it's wrapped in a narrative, even if that narrative has magically switching currencies and completely forgotten sneakers. Our brains deeply prefer the story over a dry list of facts on a whiteboard.
Absolutely. The story is what gives the data meaning.
It gives it life.
Yeah, it gives it life, it gives it context, and it turns abstract symbols into a lived experience, even if that experience is highly artificial.
But that artificiality leaves us with something important to think about. Think about this for a second. If a person's entire foundational understanding of a new language is built through these highly sanitized, frictionless flight simulators,
Right.
scenarios where every cashier smiles, friends always magically offer a discount just when you need it, and pets proudly and calmly carry their own toys out of the store, how does that shape their psychological expectations?
That is a great question.
When they finally step out of the classroom, get off the flight simulator, and confront the messy, unpredictable, and often grumpy reality of actually navigating a new country, how do they handle that friction when all they've been trained on is a perfectly engineered utopia? It's something to ponder the next time you find yourself waiting in a very long, very complicated line at the supermarket.
The gap between the textbook's utopia and the reality of the street is where the real learning finally has to happen.
Exactly. Until next time, keep questioning the story.